everything is swinging. Everybody's singing with the bright, exciting sound of New York. WINS.
Hey, babe, this is it.
New York City, 1964, and Group W, Westinghouse Broadcasting, has a big problem with the radio station it bought just a couple of years earlier.
The essence of it was they bought the wrong station, and they were desperate.
Joel Chaseman had recently been brought in as general manager of 1010 Wins. As he recalls, Westinghouse wanted to buy a respectable station like Instead, they wound up with Top 40 1010 Wins, home to the likes of Murray the K.
This meeting of the Swingin' Soiree is now in session.
And Mad Daddy.
Swingin' and singin', straight jacket and all.
Having a rock station in New York, an unsuccessful one at that, didn't reflect the way they wanted it to on their other stations, and they were being hurt in the advertising markets.
Rock and roll has got to go, and go it does. That's the best way I know to get rid of it.
One evening, a short time later, 1010 Wins news director Stan Brooks got a phone call.
And Joel Chaseman, who was the general manager, called me on the phone and said, "Come on down to my office if you got a second." He said, "Stan, if you had your druthers, what would you do with this station?" And I had no idea. I just said, "Oh, probably bring it up in the ratings if we could and, do better than we're doing." He said, "What about an all-news radio station?" And I think I probably said, "What's that?"
Stan hit the rails, traveling from city to city, holding up in hotel rooms and recruiting newscasters for the new format in secret. It had to be kept secret.
Otherwise, CBS or NBC could jump in ahead of us because they got the network and they could bring in a bunch of guys and go all news before we did.
Finally, in April 1965, the staff was assembled and rehearsals began. Initial results were not encouraging.
We had the most boring, droning, monotonous broadcast you can possibly imagine.
But there was no turning back now. On the evening of April 18th, Johnny Holiday played the last record on Top 40 1010 Wins.
To put the rap sound officially, let's call the Shangri-La's front and center to put the topper at 3 minutes till 8 o'clock. And out the streets, over you.
Shangri-La's out in the streets, yeah. I think I probably selected that one, yeah.
Early the next morning, Joel Chaseman stepped to the microphone.
WINS has become the first and only radio station in the New York region to present a continuing all-news service, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From today on, make 1010 the news center on your radio dial. Thank you.
And so it began, the news watch that never stops, but perhaps ran a bit slowly until November 9th, 1965. The night the lights went out. But 1010 Wins stayed on the air. By the time the lights came on the next morning, 1010 Wins was an integral part of New York and would remain so through the turbulent 60s, into the dangerous and destitute 70s, and on through the daily challenges of life in the big city in the 1980s. By the 1990s, even Hollywood knew that nothing said New York like 1010 Wins.
And nobody knows for sure just how much was taken in the daring pre-dawn raid at the Lufthansa cargo terminal at Kennedy Airport. The FBI says $2 million. Port Authority police say $4 million. The city cops say...
And where did New Yorkers of all stripes turn for traffic?
Good afternoon, Wins.
Yes, ma'am. I have a traffic report for you.
What's that?
I'm at between 75 and 76th on Columbus. I'm headed south, and everything seems to be moving along okay.
And we only report when things are backed up.
Oh.
And even on the city's darkest day, New Yorkers knew where to turn. Now, 50 years since Johnny Holiday played out in the streets, 1010 Wins is still out on the streets every day. Oh, and that record you requested back in '65? We'll play that for you right after the news. it could be a while.